Dust slashed across the main street. Stinging eyes, rattling loose shutters against weathered boards. Jonas Hale pulled his hat lower, spurs clinking as he stepped into a crowd gathering in front of the saloon. Men squinted through the storm, eager to see the Baron's prized black stallion brought out for bidding. The animal kicked against its handler, iron shoes ringing on hardpan. Its muscles shone under the grit of blowing sand, eyes rolling white, wild as the canyon winds. The Baron himself, broad and smug in his long coat, raised his hand for silence. Gentlemen, a horse worth more than your spread and mine together. Who dares begin? A hand lifted. Jonas. His voice carried low but steady. 100. The crowd murmured. The stallion fought the reins, nostrils flaring. The Baron smirked, looking Jonas over, measuring his weathered frame, the Civil War scars still trace-faint on his cheek. 150. Called another. 200. Jonas answered without looking. The bidding sparked hot and quick, the stallion screaming, as if knowing it was a prize. Then a voice cut through, not loud, but fierce enough to freeze the air. Don't buy the horse, rancher. Heads turned. A woman pushed through the circle of men, her dress gray with dust, eyes burning from beneath a worn bonnet. She faced Jonas square, her hands clenched tight at her sides. Choose me, she said. I'll be yours forever. The silence was sharper than gunmetal. Laughter cracked out, nervous, disbelieving. Crazy widow, someone muttered. Lost her mind. She has another spat. Jonas stood motionless, eyes locked on hers. He didn't move to speak, didn't lower his hand. The storm hissed around them, whipping grit between boots and faces. The auctioneer's voice quavered. Pay her no mind, Mr. Hale. Bid stands at. But she stepped forward, closing the space. I'm not jesting. Don't waste your coin on a beast. Take me instead. A ripple of gasps and rough laughter spilled across the street. The Baron's grin widened, cruel as a knife edge. Lord above, Hale. She offers herself in front of God and the town. Will you take a widow instead of stallion? Jonas's jaw tightened. His eyes flickered, storm gray, unreadable. He said nothing. The stallion screamed, jerking the handler to his knees. The woman's voice steadied, low, iron under the tremble. You heard me, rancher. Choose me. The Baron laughed, raising his hand again. 300. Jonas's hand lowered slowly to his side. He turned from the stallion to her. For a moment the storm fell silent, dust hanging like smoke. I'm listening, he said. The crowd howled, jeers, whistles, curses. Men spat in the dust. Women shook their heads. But Jonas Hale, war-worn and silent, walked to the widow and stood beside her, his frame tall and steady against the wind. The Baron barked for order, but the auction dissolved into chaos. Jonas touched the brim of his hat to the woman. Come, he said. And just like that, he led her away through the storm, leaving the stallion screaming behind them, the town buzzing with disbelief. The ride out to the ranch was wordless. Dust rolled across the hills, the setting sun bleeding red across the sky. She sat straight in the saddle, hair whipping from beneath her bonnet, eyes fixed on the horizon as if it held the truth of her gamble. Jonas glanced once, measuring the hard lines of her face, the steel in her posture. Not desperation, not entirely. Something else lived there, deeper, darker. At the ranch, the windmill groaned in the gusts. Cattle lowed restless in the far pasture. Jonas swung down, boots hitting the earth with a thud. She followed without hesitation. Name, he asked. Eliza. She looked over the spread. The lonely fences, the half-fallen barn, the emptiness stretching into night. Then her gaze came back, sharp as flint. I'll work. And she did. By dawn, she was mending fence lines with hands torn raw by wire. By midday, she carried water, fed cattle, moved with a strength that unsettled him. When a rattlesnake coiled by the trough, she grabbed his shovel and cut it clean in two before Jonas reached for his rifle. Not once did she flinch. That night, as coyotes yipped on the ridge, Jonas sat on the porch, pipe glowing faint in the dark. Eliza stepped out, wiping dirt from her hands, hair undone in the night wind. You don't scare easy, he said. Her eyes flickered. Something shadowed in them. I learned not to. The air grew heavy, charged. Then, faint on the wind, the sound of hooves. Distant, slow, watching. Jonah set the pipe aside, stood, listening. Eliza froze, every line of her body taut. They're here, she whispered. Who? She didn't answer. Her hand slid to her skirts, and when it came back, a revolver gleamed in the moonlight. The motion was smooth, practiced, faster than any he'd seen since the war. Jonas's breath stilled. Eliza's voice was flat, steady. The same men who killed my husband. The hoofbeats faded into the canyon, leaving the night hollow and sharp. Jonas turned, searching her face, the revolver steady in her grip. You said you were a widow, he murmured. Her eyes met his, cold fire burning deep. I am, but I'm more than that. The silence stretched, broken only by the wind dragging dust across the yard. Jonas exhaled slow, the weight of it pressing down. He knew now. The offer she made in town was no plea for shelter. It was something else entirely. And in the glow of moon and starlight, Jonas Hale realized the widow who stood on his porch carried a secret sharper than steel, a storm that had only just begun to break. Hoofbeats thundered the canyon floor, rattling the windows of the ranch house. Dust rose in a choking wall, blotting out the dawn. Jonas Hale gripped the rifle tight, sweat stinging his eyes. They're coming, he muttered. Eliza stood beside him, revolvers already strapped, the leather creaking as her hands rested easy near the grips. Her face was carved hard against the wind, eyes locked on the horizon where riders swarmed like locusts. The first shots cracked. Bullets chewed the fence rails, splinters snapping past their faces. Jonas fired back, the rifle kicking against his shoulder, one raider tumbling from his saddle with a scream swallowed by thunder. Left side. Eliza barked, already moving. She drew, both pistols flashing fire. The rhythm was merciless. Steel drawn, hammers falling, men dropping in the dust. The legend of Blackthorn Rose had returned, though Jonas had no breath to name it. The raiders split, circling wide. Smoke poured from the burning barn, cattle stampeding wild through broken gates. Jonas reloaded with trembling hands, the old war rising in him. The same blood he'd tried to bury with silence. One rider broke through, charging the porch, shotgun raised. Jonas lifted too slow. The blast ripped the post inches from his chest. Then Eliza's bullet found a man's heart before the second barrel could fire. He pitched backward, horse screaming as it bolted. Jonas's gaze snapped to her. She didn't look his way. Her face was cold iron, her gun still singing. The ground shook with another wave. The Baron himself rode at the front, coat billowing, teeth bared in a predator's grin. Eliza, his voice cut through the storm. You think you can hide in a rancher's bed? You're mine, woman. Always were. Her eyes narrowed. Jonas saw the flicker. The wound cut deeper than lead. She raised one pistol, leveled it steady on him. Not yours, she said. The Baron laughed, spurring his stallion. The riders fanned out, firing wild bullets whistling past. Jonas and Eliza dropped behind the trough, splinters raining down. Jonas grunted, clutching his side. A round had grazed him, blood soaking quick. His breath rasped sharp. Stay with me. Eliza snapped, reloading without looking, her hands fast as lightning. He steadied the rifle on the trough, teeth gritted, firing into the dust until the chamber rang empty. Another rider down, another still coming. The ranch yard became hell itself. Fire, smoke, screams. The sun clawed over the ridge, casting long shadows across the fight. At last, only the Baron remained. He dismounted slow, boots crunching to the gravel, shotgun in his grip. He strode into the yard like a man walking to church, calm, sure. Eliza stepped out to meet him. Jonas tried to rise, pain buckling his knees. Don't. But she was already there, her figure stark in the dust. The two faced each other, 20 paces apart. Silence fell, broken only by the crackle of burning timber. Even the cattle stilled, their lowing gone to whispers. The Baron sneered, lifting the shotgun. You'll die the way your man did. Eliza's hands hovered, steady as stone. Her voice was quiet, but it carried. No, you will. The world seemed to hold its breath. The Baron twitched, and her guns roared. 2 shots, clean and perfect. His chest burst red. He staggered, choking, dropping the shotgun as his knees buckled into the dirt. Dust swirled around him. His eyes widened once, then closed forever. Silence again. Eliza lowered her pistol slow, smoke curling from the barrels. The yard smelled of gunpowder and blood, the air still heavy with the ghost of thunder. Jonas dragged himself upright, leaning on the trough. His voice rasped. You done it. She turned, eyes meeting his. For the first time since the storm began, something softened in her gaze. I told you, she said. Don't buy the horse. Choose me, because I'll fight beside you to the end. He managed a broken laugh, pain splitting his side, but in his face was something deeper. Trust, hard-earned, unshakable. The surviving raiders fled into the canyon, their shouts fading with the hoofbeats. The ranch stood bloodied but unbroken. Jonas stumbled, nearly falling. Eliza caught him, steady as a rock. Together, they stood in the wreckage, the firelight of the burning barn painting their shadows across the dust. And somewhere in the silence, the land itself seemed to remember. The tale of the rancher and the widow with fire in her soul, who faced death and chose each other instead.